city you burn, I'm gonna build one high.
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and it is July 28th, YC126, and this is the Universe Show! It's been a while, guys! Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's it going? Settle on in, like the stream, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We have plenty of Eve news to get into. But we have, it's been a summer, guys. It's been a summer. But we are going to be going over all the stuff that's been going on this summer and kind of see how things have played out. This was a very highly anticipated expansion. It was an expansion that CCP really wanted people to be in on, especially nullsec to like. It has been very rocky, but I have some theories as to like why and where CCP is going with it all, and why it might actually end up being okay. But before we go into all of that, we do have plenty of other stuff to catch up on. Obviously, I've been gone for almost a little over a month now. Thank you for all of you who continue to support my channel and all that stuff. We did put out a New Eden News a couple weeks ago. That went over really well. But with so much rolling out, and with my son on summer vacation, it's like, when has been the right time for us to sit down and talk about stuff? And I think that with the updates that they've done now, it's time for us to kind of look over how Equinox has gone and how people have reacted to Equinox and how CCP is addressing those reactions. But beginning with a very important piece of news for everybody who has been paying attention to me personally. 1 second. Oh, never mind. She heard what was going on. My cat has my cat figured out what was happening. She ran off. Maybe she'll be back. But I do want to say, it's like, seriously, thanks to the support of those of you in my community, she was able to get the care that she needed. She was having problems where she filled up with stool. She couldn't pass any. It required surgery and continued treatment for like 2 weeks. We weren't sure if she was going to make it, but she did. And it's all thanks to you guys. Thank you very much. But, okay. And in addition to that, just since we're going over all of the other details, I will say that, like, we do have our merch stuff if you want to support the show with that. The kitty doesn't want to get picked up is the problem. So we've got our mugs. Like, this is my invited mug. We also have a Mauro mug that isn't right here. If you don't necessarily like a mug, one of the ones that I really like is this new water bottle. And you can add your own text on it. This is for my son, actually. It says Little Ash right there. You might not be able to read it, but it says Little Ash. It's personalized. It's really good. I like it. Let's move on. Yeah, they do. They have been giving out some stuff to get some free feedback. But let's go ahead and talk about the expansion and kind of walk through the timeline of how things have been rolling out. Okay. So here's the original announcement for it going live on April, May, June 11th. And so we have the nullsec changes. So the biggest change of the expansion is the fact that nullsec is changing, not necessarily in the way that sovereignty is fought over, but more importantly, what sovereignty means to people. And the big things is that you've got this new sovereignty hub with new upgrades. So previously in nullsec, you would have the infrastructure. Oh, hold on. Guess who's back? Hold on. So not happy. So not happy. You owe it to the people. You owe it to the people. Ish. So lovely. All right. These kids whiskey, how rude. Yeah. All right. So, space credit card. So the Sovereignty Hub is really cool. You can see the upgrades on it. And the thing. So, one of the things to think about here is that this Sovereignty Hub upgrade change is one of the biggest changes in how the fundamentals of Eve that a lot of people interact with works. The systems that people interact with on a day-to-day basis, the balance of power and all this stuff and resources. It's one of the biggest changes since Citadels. Citadels was the change that completely restructured how capitals work, completely changed how structures work, because it was the introduction of the first Upwell structure, the Citadel. It was the first time that Titans could dock. It was when you got new carrier fighters and Hodreds. All that stuff happened from that time. And this was in a time that was kind of like CCP was really trying to cater to the player base, but also make a transition that they thought was necessary. They've been working on doing new bosses for like 2 or 3 years. It got stymied because of the fact that it was such a big effort. So finally they're coming out with this. It's one of the biggest like overhauls of the systems of the game. And the problem is that in order to make those changes be popular, they added carrots to all the different transitions to make it so that they're just objectively better, right? They didn't want people to complain and want old Titans. They wanted people to be very happy with new Titans. They didn't want people to be trying to still use posses. They want people to want to switch to Citadels, right? So they add all these different things. Things like the fact that you can dock in a Titan, and now you can get out of a Titan. That had never been done before. The fact that Hodreds and carriers can now, project pretty effectively sub-capital. There's a lot of little things that came out of all of this, especially the rollout of structures, where a lot of the fundamentals of the Eve balance was kind of compromised for the sake of giving players new tools. And you could arguably say that a lot of these changes that were designed, another good example of this was, asset safety was a big piece of that. And then later on, you get things like the roque wall changes. It's actually a huge example, right? So you got a roque wall change where they're fundamentally changing the way that the roque wall works. They're making it so that everybody who had a roque wall up until that point hates it now because it's totally different. And there's a whole new group of people that want the roque wall in theory. In order to make this happen, in order to convince people that this was an okay change, they had to significantly buff the roque wall. It had a tank as good as a faxes, a repping power as good as a fax, the DPS of like almost like a carrier, the mining of 5 hulks. Like, it was insane. And then eventually they had to ratchet it back and ratchet it back and ratchet it back until you got to where you are now. Same with Citadels. There's been lots of changes that have had to be brought back. And arguably, I would say that these changes that were made in order to make people like the things that CCP was doing ended up causing the runaway, not inflation, but like economic situation that we got into, which led to scarcity. So here we have it in our first, faction warfare was a pretty big change that CCP did, but ultimately that was, as a person that loves faction warfare, I want to believe that like it's a big piece of the game, but like compared to sovereignty, I can admit to the fact that it's basically a side aspect of the game, right? Like, sovereignty is kind of, in a lot of ways, it is where the shininess of Eve come from. It's where that people can player-owned worlds, where it's player societies. It's the height of like that Eve mentality of like player-built economies and societies and or infrastructure and organizations. This is really nullsec, right? So they need people to like it, but we can't go back to the way it was before, right? They need to implement all of the changes that they want to implement and give people reason to like this stuff, but not in such a way that we end up all the way back at pre-scarcity era. because scarcity was incredibly painful, and CCP never wants to have to do it again. Okay, so that was a big piece of this. So knowing that, the sovereignty changes offer two significant changes that were that players really address. Okay, now there is a whole nother system of complexity with the sky hooks and the lava planets and the ice planets and the sovereignty upgrades and the personnel and the routing them all. None of that matters to the normal person. Okay, what really boils down to the carrot on this stick is the mining upgrades and the encounter upgrades. That's what people think of when they think of nullsec, is ratting and mining and industry, right? So the big change, the big thing that CCP did in order to make nullsec like popular again was make it so that players could choose what kind of mineral is spawning in their system. Now, this is both incredibly cool for nullsecers and incredibly dangerous for the market of EVE Online. Prior to the changes of scarcity, you could actually get all the different types of minerals in nullsec and whatnot if you mined all of the different stuff. CCP made a change that made it so that only Veldspar and or only Tritanium and Pyrite, I think it was, and Mexilon are almost exclusively in in HiSec, with Veldspar almost exclusively in nullsec. Pyrite and Mexilon also can be found in moons, but it's like slag for the moons. It's not why you mine it. And then Isogen and Noxium were low-sec only. Megasite and the other one is in nullsec only. And what that did was it made things like Isogen extraordinarily valuable overnight, right? Isogen went from something that was fairly easy to recover across the bands of space to being almost exclusively found in low-sec, Pochvin, and very rare pockets of border ore found on systems that are adjacent to low-sec and nullsec. You know, where basically systems where bands of space collide, you can have these special sites that give ore, and that it does have Isogen in it. But what this meant was that Isogen exploded in price. So that's good, though, right? In this sense, the problem is that low-sec mining is probably the most dangerous mining in EVE Online because it's so difficult to control. HiSec can be controlled. At least somewhat. You're protected by Concord. Nullsec can be controlled. You've got local. You've got your local defenses. You've got cap umbrellas or whatever you want. Wormholes, you can control your hull control, etc. Lowsec is lawless. It is very difficult to actually like control a section of space. So it's hard to like create a window of safety for mining. It's much more about your ability to be observant and to react to something before it comes to bite on you. One of the I've made a video in the past saying that people should mine in low-sec because, you know, it is a really cool risk and reward thing, and it rewards those who are vigilant, right? That's the whole key. However, that risk versus reward only exists if Isogen and Noxium is worth a ton, right? Because that's the whole thing, is that mining in low-sec is nigh impractical for most people. And yet, everything significant requires Isogen. So the question is, where is the Isogen going to come from, right? And that's been the issue that we've been addressing for the last 2 or 3 years. Enter the nullsec changes. So now, players can just dial in their system and be like, boop, all right, this system now generates Isogen. The fear of this was that it would collapse the markets completely, right? That like, oh, all of the work from, you know, mining Isogen, like all of that, the Isogen is just going to go to the price it was before. And the problem with that is it would make it so that mining in low-sec is stupid because you could just do the same thing in null-sec when it's more safer and be good to go, right? So that was a big concern. The other side was ratting, which was not as much of a big concern. The biggest concern with ratting is the idea that it is a faucet, right? And prior to scarcity, the biggest problem rewards those who are villainous, vigilant. It doesn't matter that the Vigilant is a Serpentis ship, but so the nullsec ratting at its most extreme were changed into things like Titan ratting, where they would do a single doomsday and take out an entire sanctum. These guys were making stupid amounts of ISK per tick. We're talking about like, okay, so I remember back in like 2018, I think it was, CSP Quant, I want to believe, the guy who does the statistics for Eve, made a point about how people were making 300 million per tick or whatever, and people were like laughing at him because of how impractical that was. I think that was actually 2016. Fast forward to 2019, and people were legitimately making that and expecting to make that in their supercarrier and Titan ratting. So a big piece of the changes made in scarcity was to reduce the projection of those ships down to subcapitals, making them less efficient for running sites. Now, they have introduced things like crab beacons for there to be capital-sized kind of sites to run, but you know, the idea of ratting and its place in Eve as a huge ISK sink, okay? Real quick, ISK sinks and ISK faucets. Really huge ISK faucet, my bad. ISK faucet is how new ISK comes into the game, right? When you kill a rat, you accumulate a certain amount of bounty, and that bounty gets delivered to you in pure ISK. That is an ISK faucet. There is now more ISK in the universe than there was before, right? If I get my ship blown up while I'm ratting, you know, my Ishtar gets got and blown up by somebody, and I get paid insurance. That insurance is an ISK faucet. So dying in the ship is an ISK faucet, not an ISK sink, right? Because ISK is made out of nowhere. Even though the total amount of value in the universe is reduced because the Ishtar is worth more than the ISK, it's still an ISK faucet because it's more ISK, more liquid ISK, okay? ISK sinks are things that take ISK out of the economy altogether. So, for example, taxes, right? It gets paid to an NPC. That is an ISK sink. It goes away and we never see it again. Skill books or BPOs, when you buy them from the market, those are put up by NPCs. Those are ISK sinks. Faction or LP store. If an LP store has ISK value or ISK pay-ins, those are ISK sinks. Those get ISK out of the universe. This is important because if there's more ISK, if the balance between ISK faucets and ISK sinks get out of whack, then suddenly ISK becomes less and less and less valuable, right? And so if people can make 300 million ISK easily in nullsec, what does that do to the price of Plex or other things like that that people compete for on the market, right? How can a person who does level 4 missions ever compete with the economics of someone who's supercarrier ratting, right? So that was another one of the issues. So how do we introduce new combat sites and how do we introduce new mining sites without breaking the mechanics that make the game work? Oh, okay. So the first thing that happens, the mining sites themselves are seen by people to be pretty much shit. Okay. The rocks, while there is a fine amount of minerals in the sites, and they are the correct minerals, the issue that people immediately found was that it was less than they thought that it would be, but also the rocks were really, really small. And this matters because when, especially if somebody's multi-boxing, having to continually restart your lasers, retarget things, change things up is like a giant pain in the ass. Now, one could suggest that CCP did this on purpose and it was somewhat smart because of the fact that like a normal person or a group of real people all trying to mine together will have no problem. It's only people who are like trying to multi-box 10 mining ships that are going to be having a real problem with that. And even then, like you could argue that could potentially be okay, but it was still something that made the feature not really acceptable to people, because especially since mining, even prior to like the big explosion of multi-boxing that came with like skill injectors and skill extractors, mining was the place for multi-boxing, right? And actually, Lazy One has a really good point. Here's the problem. Anytime anybody ever suggests something that helps with automation, right? Like I've often suggested that when you stop, when a target is destroyed and you have another target, your guns should automatically start attacking that next target if you have that setting set, just like it does in Echoes. Now, people have gotten on to me about this suggestion, but specifically because they think that it will help bots. And that is a misnomer. That is actually the opposite of true. Anything that aids in automation actually helps you against the bots. Think about it. What is a bot but automation? That's what it's for. So if there's automation that must be replaced by human action, that's where the bots come in. So the fact that they have to continually lock new rocks, continually change their lasers over to new things, that's what's going to cause people to give up on trying to do it manually and give over to the bots, because the bots actually get a real advantage in that world. Hold on, my nose is itching. I don't want to feel like I'm picking my nose the whole time. So yeah, I mean, it would make, right? I like the idea of being able to program your thing and then watch it play out, right? Lock the targets, put them in order, and watch it kind of go down the line. But regardless, my point is that, like, when you make something like this that's designed to fight AFK, what it really does is make things easier for bots. And when you do things that increase the built-in automation of things, you're actually making players have the tools of bots without botting. Now, this is a very difficult issue because, like, for instance, another side to this whole thing was back when the VNIs were so prevalent. One of the problems with the VNI ratting wasn't the fact that it allowed bots to be fucking everywhere. The problem is that it was the strategy of using the VNI, which was at the time one of the apex strategies for ratting, made it so that a legitimate player sitting behind their computer and a bot were completely indistinguishable from each other. The process was so automated that a person and a bot would look exactly the same because they only have to do like 2 or 3 actions. And then you just wait 15 minutes and then you do like 5 or 6 more actions and then you wait another, 5-10 minutes. So the problem was that it became almost undetectable where the bots were. And that's one of the reasons why the VNIs got disrupted, et cetera, et cetera. So all that said, what are the problems with what they rolled out? Eve Echoes after 2 years and started playing EVE Online again. I hear everyone is shitting on Equinox. With that, Equinox isn't bad. Equinox isn't bad overall, okay? I'm let's just talk about that. And they are working on fixing it. I have a theory. As to what's going on. And it may be cynical, it may be whatever, but we'll get there when we get there. Okay, so in the end, we have 2 problems. We have the mining sites that have too small of a rocks, and well, not too the mining sites and the combat sites. So the other problem with the mining sites was that the big benefit of the Equinox situation was, if you scroll down here, it says, where are we? No, doesn't actually have it here. Fine. So the both the mining and the combat sites have escalations. Okay, this was the big piece to all of it. Okay, mining sites have never had escalations before in HiSec or nullsec rather. Yeah. No problem. Yeah, Echoes is. We don't talk about Echoes much, but we definitely like they've come a long ways with Equinox from its release. I'll put it that way. That's the spoiler. So the other problem is that now mining sites can escalate, and this was the saving grace saving grace for this whole thing, right? Like for a long time, I was like, well, it really depends on what the escalation is, right? Like if the base set, so like the way escalations work with combat is that you want to kind of cycle through combat sites as fast as possible in order to get the most chances of getting the escalation, because it's like what, a 5% chance or what, a 10% chance or whatever it is for the escalation. So you just got to grind through as many of these sites as possible in order to get the escalations, because the escalation is what you really want. So, okay, translate this over to mining sites. Sure, the mining sites themselves might not have very much in it. But if that means that individuals could just grind through them really quick, you could just grind through them for a couple of hours and then get an escalation. And that escalation could be really, really cool. And like you could bring all your friends in and do like this big escalation, a mining site. That the mining sites that exist right now might be like basically individual sites to mine. Two problems with that. One, those mining sites had a 6-hour recycle rate, right? Which means you would mine your one mining site and then you were done for the entire time cycle, right? Like it's going to be 6 hours before you get more mining sites. I guess I hope the next time zone benefits from this. And it was so rare to get an escalation. It took Reddit 2 weeks to get a picture of the escalation site. And then finally, that escalation site, when they finally got it, wasn't great. They did add a second escalation site, right? So the main escalation site provides like every single mineral in the game, which of course, as soon as people saw pictures of the escalation site, we saw the picture of the escalation site, but without like a scan of it. And it just looked like it was a shit ton of feldspar, which made people even more mad. Even CCP Swift was in the chat in Reddit that was like, yeah, you know, I'd really expect the escalations to be the kind of thing that people get excited about. It's just like, wow, okay, well, ugh. You know, so escalations aren't something that you can farm. And even when you get them, they're not making people excited for it. So let's just call the mining side interesting, but overall a failure to getting people interested. However, I've even forgotten the beginning of all of this, which is that when the system first came out, the problem is that now you have power, you have reagents, and you have personnel that's required to run these things. I forgot to mention that these upgrades now require these sovereignty hubs to be powered up by this stuff, which means it requires power, and power can only be gotten from your sun and from lava, or no, plasma, storm, and gas planets, with gas planets providing almost no power. So when this first came out, people figured out that less than half of the systems in the entire game could possibly fit a mining upgrade. Assuming that's all you fit, right? Did not have enough power for a single mining upgrade. Now, at first I was like, well, you know, that's kind of fine, because this is all about texture and terrain, right? So the idea is that you've got some systems for personnel, some systems for upgrades and stuff like that. But obviously CCP agreed with player base, or relented with the player base, who thought that this was absolutely crazy. And so they made one of their first early changes, which was they made it so that, hold on, does this? They made it so that they changed the power levels of all of the different planets. Nope, I don't have that detail here. But then they also extended the deadline. They were going to make it start on the 20th of June, but then they had to push it to the 27th of June, so that way they could change the power levels and a bunch of other balancing prior to even rolling out the systems. So now every system in nullsec has at least enough power to put on a mining upgrade. But many of them, that's all they get, period. So that's the very first little fix to what was going on. Now, the combat sites were also really weird in the fact that, like, so the combat sites were respawning less often than the old combat sites, which of course the respawn rate is how consistently you can keep grinding them. And so, like, they basically became less of a tool for people. It became more of a pain in the butt to actually interact with these systems. And more importantly, the escalations that they put in were like basically undoable. There's one with like a pause shield that made it so that most of the capitals that you're supposed to use with this site couldn't actually run the site. So it was a mess, okay, on the sovereignty side. Next, there was the, where was it? The Skinner. The Skinner was another big thing. Skinner is huge. This is the ability to customize your ships. And the Skinner system rolls out, and it has a host of problems. First and foremost, it is expensive, okay? Now, one could argue that a basic skin built-in Skinner is about the same or even cheaper than buying an equivalent skin on the Nest Store. However, the Nest Store is a premium currency store. And so people that weren't already buying things on the Nest Store, they don't have their brain already working on the economics of this. So they're like, oh, cool, skin. And they go and build it. And then they see that the skin is like 100 million or 100 plex. And they're like, whoa, that's a lot, right? And it is. And the especially if you use some of the more rarer components, you know, if people start going, oh, yeah, well, I want it to be glossy and put a stripe, you can easily start ending up with some things that are several hundred plex in order to build a single skin, which, of course, freaks some people out. Then, yes, you can make your own skins now. Then, on top of that, you could only save 5 slots at a time, right? So you could save 5 different designs, which is, I guess, fine. But sequencing a skin takes time, several days, in fact. And however, you can speed up this time 2 different ways. One, with a skill, which is pretty normal. But 2, you can actually spend more plex in order to speed up the sequencing and get the skin right now. So, okay, look, even if you agree that this, or even if you accept the fact that this is theoretically a good or an acceptable idea, right? Oh, well, there's a timer. Let's steel man this situation for a minute, okay? I forgot. The other issue is that once you've made this skin, let's say I made a skin for another person, right? My buddy wants a skin. I'm a good skin designer. He's not a good skin designer. He tells me what kind of things he's looking for. He gives me like something to work with in order to understand it. I maybe even have some rare colors or some patterns that I buy in order to make this skin myself, because you have to buy colors on the in the Nest Store for Plex. So I'm already buying things with Plex before I have to spend Plex in order to get it. But also, you can't preview anything without buying it unless it's in the Nest Store. So there are patterns and there are colors that are not buyable in the Nest Store. They're rare and can only be gotten through other ways. Cannot preview them in any way in game, which we will return to that in a minute. So let's say I finally make my skin for my friend, and I can't give it to them. I can't transfer it to them. I can't trade it to them. I can't anything. The only way that I can transfer it to them was by putting it on the Paragon Hub store for some amount of money, and then buy it from there. Couple problems with that. One, they can't search it. So the good news is that the Skinner system was enough unpopular because of all of these differences that you could just be in the correct ship and then look up the skins for that ship and probably find the skin you're looking for pretty easily. But still, if that's not the case, you can't search for your friend's specific skin. And then, even when you do find it, CCP applied a 30% tax on the skin transfer. So you could sell it for Plex, you could sell it for ISK, if I wanted to put a high price on it to make it so that the wrong person doesn't, but let's say I want to give it to my friend. So I'm like, well, shit, I'm going to put it up for $1 billion. And then I give you $1 billion ISK so that way you can buy it. So that way I make sure that the one person that's supposed to buy it is able to buy it. And CCP takes 300 million ISK out of that. That is bonkers. So why does all of this exist? Let's again steelman this situation. The problem here is the very easy one, which is you see a skin on the market and you like it, right? Why would you buy that skin when you can make that skin, right? If I see that black and red look really freaking good on a trig ship, do I need to buy that skin from the person? Or do I make it myself? So the problem with that is that you have, so you've got two things going on here. Maybe I want to make it myself. Maybe I want to make it to replace the person, right? So they're selling it for 150 million ISK, and I want to sell it for 140 million ISK, right? So I'm going to put it up on the market for 140 million ISK. But because of those taxes, there's going to be a floor of where profitability is. If it costs me 100 million ISK to build the thing, I've got to sell it for at least 130 million ISK in order to even break even, right? So if I see a skin on the market for 140 million ISK, I could try to replace it. I could try to put out my own cheaper version of it, but I can't make it much cheaper because otherwise I'm going to be eating into my own costs. Okay. The second part of this is the turnaround, right? If I see something that I want that looks really good on the market now, and I start sequencing it now, it's going to take me a couple of days in order to finish sequencing it. So there's a period of time where that person that had the original idea is able to sell that original idea before other people replace it, right? This is very similar to the way that blueprints work, where it's like, just because we know that a Tech 2 thing it needs to be put onto the market doesn't mean that people can just start manufacturing it right away. Sometimes lines need to be set up in time. So, there's a little bit of a lag time. So people that do manage to get onto it or happen to have it already are able to have kind of like freedom to leverage it for a period of time. And that's why there's like, okay, well, if you pay Plex, right, there's now a business transaction. If I want to get it now, if I want to skip that line, I need to be able to skip that 30% extra cost of the trade. And so CCP charges some extra Plex in order to balance all of these different desires, right? The desire to build a skin for yourself, the desire to build a skin to sell, and the desire to build a skin to copy somebody else's skin rather than buy their skin, right? So, needless to say, this is a mess. Intellectual theft? Absolutely. This is Eve. What do you want? So, this is a mess. And what ends up happening is that the Skinner system is widely rejected by by a lot of the player base. There are still some people making it. There are still some people selling it and whatnot. Obviously, it is still pretty cool, but you definitely see this massive, I'll deal with it when it gets more stuff. Now, in comes the moment where the first moment of Equinox, where I realized that the marketing team may not have any idea what they're doing. And I actually got really, really upset. And that is when Federation Day happened. Federation Day, new hues for liberty. Federation Day packs, limited skin designs. In honor of the Galente Federation Day, new packs are available on the Eve store. It comes with 20 days of Omega, 50 Plex, blah, 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 3 Velour Viridescent nano coatings, 3 Old Man Star Sunset nano coatings, 3 Intaki Emerald Metallics nano coatings, and 3 Liberty of Wings patterns. Okay. Why is this a problem? Remember how I said earlier that things that are not on the Nest store cannot be, on the Paragon store could not be previewed? Let's see if this is actually still true. They might have fixed this. I think that they did. Let me double check. If we open up the Skinner system, can I edit a design and put velour viridescent on here? See, if it's here, I can preview it as a single color over the entire ship, which isn't great, but still it's something. But if I come here and I go, if I want velour viridescent, nope, I don't think it's here. Yeah. I cannot, hold on. Here's the skin. Can I preview it in any way? Can I, nope. Can I drag it here? Can I drag it here? No. Nothing. There's nothing I can do to get this, to look at this in game, period. Now, what's the problem with that? Well, I mean, here we have CCP selling Skinner components that you have to buy sight unseen. Now, if I scroll down here a little bit, they finally, after I bitched about it for days, put out these pictures. These pictures were not in the original dev blog, by the way. They just completely were just like, here it is, buy them, and that was it. So now they have these things on here. But even then, like this one right here, this is a, I'm assuming that this is the Emerald Metallic, Intaki Emerald Metallic. But I can't really tell how that works on anything with this one static picture. This is a terrible way of previewing these things. There's no way in game to be able to preview them. That ends up being a huge problem if CCP is then going to be expecting people to pay real money just for the opportunity to see what it would look like. That is wild, okay? Now, they then later on double down on this by doing the colors of freedom, where you get 3 nano coatings of this, 3 of this, metallics and patterns. And down here, we get these pictures, but these pictures are so noisy, I can't tell what I'm even looking at necessarily in these skins. Is this, because those look like patterns, right? So that's is that the Freedom Foundation pattern on these things? Is this the color? No, wait, no, never mind. This is just the Chainbreaker Kumok skins. These aren't even the patterns. These aren't even the colors. I'm not wrong for being upset about this, am I? The idea that they would be selling people these things, which I can't necessarily see how much they were now, but I think they were like $20 or whatever. Like, I cannot believe, oh no, this is way more than $20. It's 600 plex in there. I cannot believe that they're going to be selling I think this one was the $50 one. They're going to be selling people these skins or these Skinner components without the ability to even know what it is that you're buying. These are brand new things. These were introduced these days, right? It's not like a skin where I can go and look at the preview of the skin, right? If I want what's fucking bizarre is they give this much real estate for the Chainbreaker stuff, even though we have Chainbreaker. We have the Chainbreaker skin. We've had the Chainbreaker skin forever. And we can preview it. Look. Oh, Chainbreaker skin. It's so pretty. It's so great. It's a good thing I can preview this. If only I could preview the other things that they wanted me to buy. All right. But that's only step one. There's one other thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to the marketing team, and then we'll get back to the other stuff, which is wow. Here's the wow. All right, like this is kind of whatever. Honestly, again, I could steel man this and be like, well, they're doing what they can. They don't have the technology yet to be able to preview it in game. They're not going to not do it. They're just going to put it out, and it's not optimal, but it's only going to get better, right? We could argue that, and fine, whatever. Here's the thing, okay? Where is it? Hold on, where is it? Where? I swear to God. Hold on. I think they just slipped it into other stuff. Whatever. Here we go. Twitch drops. We have Twitch drops, right? These have been pretty cool. Twitch drops have been a pretty successful way of CCP kind of getting engagement in Twitch. You have to watch a Twitch streamer for 4 hours in order to get it. However, and you know they've been very successful with Twitch drops for like 6 months, right? They've been doing a bunch of skins like the Arkham Arisen skin. There's been a couple of questionable moments within the Twitch drop world when it comes to CCP. The most notable of which was that CCP started releasing skins that used to be for sale, like for cash. Instead, they're doing it for free, for just searching for watching a stream for a while. So the example from that, hold on a second. The example from that is the Maligan Marshlight skin. In Halloween, I think that there was another example of this, but I do remember this at least. It was the tornado, wasn't it? Yeah. The tornado Maligan Marshlight skin. This skin used to be on sale on the Nest store for cash every Halloween. And wait, where'd the face go? Why? Oh, you can see the face, but it's not pulsing. Oh, there it goes. Just took a second. That's a lot noisier than it used to be. That used to stand out a lot more. Any rate, whatever. Who cares? So this used to be bought with real life money, and now if you watched it for 4 hours during the Halloween time period, you got it for free. This was a bit controversial. They've done it a couple times, but now in this latest iteration since Equinox, we have 2 problems. One, I feel like their period of time that they're doing in order to let you watch the streams have been compressed. Now, Twitch, like the way that Twitch counts time, for me at least, doesn't work all the time. So I've actually had a couple of times recently when it comes to these new Skinner components that they've been doing as part of like the Twitch drops, at least 2 or 3 Skinner components I missed out on because the 2 days or whatever passed that you had in order to watch 4 hours. And even though I was watching it as much as I could, for some reason it didn't count it. So I just didn't get it. Whatever. What's interesting about this was that a lot of the things that they did for these drops were things from the purchase things, right? Hold on. So for instance, the Liberation Day stripes, right? Where are Skinner components? I thought, hold on. What are these things called? Liberties, right? You can't search for them? Oh, what? Whatever. So this pattern was also given away. I can't search my assets. Oh yeah, because wait. So weird. I thought I had it. This is kind of the problem though, right? Like I'm kind of demonstrating one of the issues here. Yeah, oh yeah. Okay, I do have it here. Oh no, I got United Front. Whatever. Anywho, the point of the matter is that they were giving away some of these things, but they weren't the same. So like instead of metallic, it would be the matte version. So it wasn't really helping you understand what these pieces were that they also wanted you to pay for, right? It was very confusing. Then it happened. I missed out barely on completing one of the skins. They gave away a skin, right? It was in fact a new skin. One I hadn't seen before, right? Which of course got me interested. It is where is it? Equinox Era. This skin, right? It's pretty cool, right? In fact, right now, you can go onto the Nest store, I think it is. I think you can. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. You can come here and grab the Aspiring Capsuleer bundle and get yourself this awesome skin for the Porpoise, right? So, okay, they finished the skin for the Porpoise. That's fine. Is that what they gave away for is Ashtarothi mad because CCP started selling a skin and gave it away at the same time? No. Much fucking weirder than that. Because this is the Porpoise skin. The Porpoise is a ship that people use, right? The skin that CCP gave away on Twitch, and I'm not joking, I can't go to types here, is if you go here and type in, oh no, now I can't even remember it. My brain just exploded and doesn't remember the name of the ship now. So let's go. If we go into ships, we go to special editions ships. Ah, yes, the Primate. Thank you. Primate. This is the Primate. It looks a lot like the Noctis. It looks a lot like the Porpoise. It uses the same model. And wait, the skin that they gave away isn't even here. God damn it. Okay. What? Ah! All right. So, oh no, it is. I'm stupid. Okay. No, that one was on me. That one was on me. Whew. I'm so far up my own rabbit hole. Okay. So here is the Primate skin. This is the one that they gave away. Okay. Everybody who watches it, everybody who watched Twitch for 4 hours got this skin, right? So there's going to be some new players that have got this skin and they're like, okay, cool. I don't know what that ship is, but now I've got this skin for it. I should go get it, right? That's step one. So then we go to Eve Marketer and we type in Primate. How much does a Primate cost? Okay. Primate, 27 to 30 million ISK. Completely reasonable. I should totally get one of those. What is the Primate good at? Hold on. Let's look into that. What's this cool thing that I just got? I just got a cool skin, guys. I got a cool skin. I'm going to use the ship that I got the skin for. Okay. So what is this thing good for? Oh, it has a bay for holding planetary commodities. Okay, I'm going to drop the act a little bit. The Prime was a special edition ship that was given out as part of the Tyrannus expansion. Every single account in the Tyrannus expansion in 2010, I think it was given a free Prime, because the Tyrannus expansion was the expansion that introduced the idea of PI, planetary interaction, planetary commodities, all that kind of stuff came from the Tyrannus expansion. And especially back in the day, when they introduced a new system, they would also give everybody a special edition ship that allows everyone to interact with that system, right? So the Echelon was created for Sanchez incursions to allow people to hack in those sites. The Zephyr was built, was given out as part of the Apocrypha expansion, so that way people could go and check out sleeper sites without having all of the combat capabilities. Likewise, the Prime was given out to people in order to let them do PI. So isn't this great? Hold on. I thought PI was a good thing to have. Didn't they just make PI better? And, you know, this is like the industrial focus. Okay, great. Let's look at the attributes here. We have a PI hold, right? Okay, so we've got a gas hold of 10,000. We've got an ice hold of 10,000. We've got a command center hold of 2,000. And we've got a planetary commodities hold capacity of 2,500 M. Wait a minute. This is the Epithal. The Epithal is a Galente P1 hauler. The Epithal costs 3 million ISK in the middle of nowhere. The Epithal has a base planetary commodities hold of 45,000 meters cubed. A base commodity hold. God, I need to do some math. Hold on. Pull up my calculator. So we've got, let's see, 45,000 divided by 2,500 equals, it's 18 times the cargo hold before you count the attribute where Galente Hauler increases the planetary commodity hold capacity by up to 50% more. This thing is cheaper. It holds significantly more. And what's crazy is this Prime, look at this. It has 0 mid slots. It has 0 low slots. Sorry, it has 0 mid slots. It has 0 high slots. It has 4 low slots. It has a base time to warp of... Did they have that on here? It has a base time to warp of 9.83 seconds, so 10 seconds, with skills in a way that cannot be improved significantly because you can't fit mid slots. The Epithal, on the other hand, has a slower starting rate, but has 4 mid slots, 4 low slots, and 3 rigs in order to improve it. It's got a much bigger hold, it's got a much bigger tank, and it's literally 1/10 of the cost. Why? Like, what person, every single person who is part of the process of deciding that a Prime skin should be the skin that's given away from Twitch, need to have a long, dark, like, moment of soul examination to wonder whether or not you even know what game it is that you're playing. I really do feel like the marketing team in particular maybe just completely, like, they understand things on a very high level, right? They know, okay, well, we already have this skin because of the Noctis. We don't, what model is free for that? The Prime. Okay, well, we'll just use that. Not understanding the full implication of, like, this is a game with, like, real ramifications, with market ramifications, with all this sort of stuff. And people are getting this skin because they think that it's the right thing to do because it's the exciting skin that they're giving away, and people are spending literally hours watching Twitch streamers in order to get this skin, only to realize that it is so much past useless. I mean, like, even if you counted it as being like, okay, this is good, even if you wanted his skin, like, it's literally just I mean, like, you could recreate this thing in Skinner, right? Like, actually, I have a really funny question. Can I even look up the primate here? Oh, I can, that's right. You can't skin you, you can't skin special edition ships. At least it's alpha friendly. Yeah, but you know it's not alpha. Hold on, is it alpha friendly? Yeah, it's alpha friendly, but you know it isn't alpha friendly. PI. All right, all right, all right, all right. Let's keep going. We've had enough fun with the problems. Let's start talking about how they've managed to start fixing some of this stuff. Ugh. All right. So on the 27th, they or as they got closer to the release of Sovereignty, they as I said, they delayed the Sovereignty release, and as they came out, they put in new information for the power outlets, and they rebalanced a lot of the stuff. Like I said, they made it so that especially the mining arrays and stuff were a little bit more deployable, like broadly, like more systems were accessible for it. And this is actually still before anybody really thought it was a problem, but you know, this is the information about how it all plays out, topology, blah blah blah. So eventually, like I said, we talked about earlier, nullsec did not like the sovereignty changes for a lot of different reasons. And eventually they came out with a director's letter that did basically the opposite of help. So Equinox was relaunched on the 6th, right? Yeah. Or the 6th or whatever. 11th. It launched on the 11th. Sovereignty was supposed to upgrade on the 20th. It did upgrade on the 27th. Then on the 8th of the next month, so about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, after everybody had been, you know, pretty upset for a little while, we get, first off, we want to extend our heartfelt thanks for the incredible feedback and stories that you shared about Ebon Online Equinox. This is our fourth consecutive major expansion since we reinstated our biannual release schedule. Marks a significant milestone, blah, blah, blah. Owning, what I don't understand is why don't game companies hire people from their player base to assist with new marketing campaigns? That's the thing that gets me, is that like the community team is almost exclusively hired from the player base. CCP Swift, CCP Convict, these guys know the community. That's one of the things that makes me so confused by all of this, because like I just feel like they're not even being asked. I don't know what to say, because like I even see CCP Swift like in Reddit comments being on the side of the player base more than a few times. So yeah, I mean, some of this is probably coming from a level that's way higher than anyone that like on that we talk to, you know, on a regular basis. You know, they could just be like, no, you know, especially changes with like the way that the Skinner system is done and you know whatnot. There's obviously like higher level issues that are being or considerations that are being applied that are affecting things. But yeah, no, the community team is broadly well-respected members of the player community. Didn't they have a problem with that at one point? A player hired would fire them, would give themselves things. So that happened once. It was called the T20 incident. It was huge. It happened back in like 2007. It caused the Great War. It's the reason why we have the CSM now. And CCP has taken extreme lengths to ensure that that kind of thing doesn't happen anymore. Employees should be required to play the game that they're marketing. So back in 2019, they actually changed the rules. It used to be that CCP couldn't actually play their game unless they were being anonymous because they didn't want to affect the universe. But they actually made it so that now CCP devs can actually play the game as their main characters or without hiding it. But yeah, again, like I with everything that we saw with the way that events have been run last year and with what we're seeing with the Twitch thing, I don't know whether or not the marketing team knows what they're doing yet. I don't know. I don't think so. But all right. Owning space in New Eden should matter. It's not about holding territory. It's about having a real influence and control over it. We plan on spending quite some time in nullsec, adding new content, gameplay opportunities, and balancing both the economy and the meta. While we are happy with the current state of the release mechanics and eagerly awaiting how to see how it all pans out, we are also taking a closer look at Skyhook rating in collaboration with the CSM, who've been instrumental in this process. We firmly believe that all of the mechanics, the updated combat sites, escalations, and upgrades will combine to provide a much stronger nullsec ecosystem. Remember, by this point, people have figured out that the mining sites are lackluster. The mining escalations are crap. The combat escalations, I think, mostly have been fixed by the time this video has come out, but like we're still much slower than even the previous combat sites. People weren't very happy. We firmly believe, however, rubber needs to meet the road. It's not just all theory craftings. We're keeping a close eye on all the changes to the overall economy, the LP currencies and stores, as well as wormhole ISK faucets and presence of dreadnoughts. Seeing the incredible player... Oh, yeah, and then here we got the Skinner system. Seeing the incredible player-created ship skins have been nothing short of amazing. Your creativity suppresses our wildest imagination, demonstrating the limitless potential of free expression. Since skins were first introduced, it has been our dream to enable everyone to display their own colors with pride and make their visual mark on New Eden. We completely understand the concerns that the Skinner tool has raised, and we are reacting to and actively improving the Paragon Hub user experience, rolling out updates throughout the summer based on your feedback. New colors and patterns will continue to be released outside of major expansions without the ability to preview them, and we're closely monitoring the markets and pricing to ensure accessibility. Our commitment is to continually expand the capabilities of the Skinner tool, enhancing your abilities and to personalize and express your unique identity. In the meantime, Plex and components in the Air Daily Goals can contribute towards your ambitions with Skinner, and of course, all of the elements are tradable in the player-driven market, including many components and patterns that are not available in the Paragon Hub, which, whew, that brings me to a whole other point that I totally forgot about this expansion, which is the daily login rewards. Okay. Now, we've done all of these complaints about everything in the previous video, so these are kind of just summarizing what was the way it was, or like what was the problem. But effectively, CCP, you used to have a daily login reward, but that has been replaced by a daily activity reward, right? So if I go into my opportunities window, I can see that I have all these different opportunities, and I've been kind of slacking this month, as you can tell. However, and we can kind of see where some of the changes already have come. There was only 4 different ones. They could be duplicated. So there were some situations where, like, if you lived in Drone Lands, there was just there was no way to complete all the tasks. So there's no way to gain SP or LP. There were scanning down specific types of signatures. So you could scan signatures and not get a data site, and then just not get to complete the tasks. So there were some of the tasks that were just a pain in the butt. There's 4 of them. You had to complete all of these. And then, like, there were weird things like the reward for getting 9 different days done was 5 plex, which is almost an insult. And the daily SP was actually lower than the daily SP before, leading people to be very upset, especially since there was no longer any of the Halcyon boosters, and there are no longer any of the giveaway free skins that you get as part of the login rewards that we used to have. So people were really upset. Okay. So this whole idea that, like, the Plex and components from the Air Daily Goals can contribute towards your ambitions with Skinner. Let's remind everybody that a Skinner thing, like if I go and buy a basic, not quite. If I want to buy, nope, not quite. If I want to go buy just a basic component, right? Like I just want to buy a piece. All right. Well, actually, let's say if I want to sequence this design right here, okay? This design that, wait. Let's say I want to sequence this design. This design is going to cost, you can't see it, damn it. Nope. 75 plex. It's 75 plex to build this ship skin, okay? And it'll cost 1 day, 20 hours, and 48 minutes in order to do. And as you can see, I also require the sequencers that I don't have here. So I'll have to get those as well and have the 75 plex in order to create the skin. And then it'll cost time, which then I can use more plex to do it. So just remember, CCP says, in the meantime, plex and components from the Air Daily goals can contribute towards your ambitions for Skinner. I get 5 plex. Okay. So in 15 months, I will have earned the plex to synchronize this skin. And that's only if I have paid for those accounts or for that account during those 15 months, which means during that time, I will have spent, pulling up my handy dandy calculator again, just so I don't have to think about it too much, 500 times 15, I will have spent, of course, I'm dumb, it's 1%. So I would have spent 7,500 plex in order to get the 75 free plex to sequence this ship. Cool. But then I still need the sequencers, which, thank God, the package actually drops those too. It's not that many, though. So yeah, just remember that when they say that we are offering contributions to your ambitions. Okay? Cool. Challenge yourself every day. With the latest challenges to the daily challenges, we want players to undock and engage with the universe, so spend more meaningful time in space while contributing to the economy through creation, contribution, and destruction. We will continue to explore more opportunities to enhance your regular gameplay habits, as well as reintroducing unique Halcyon Dawn skin rewards. Maybe someday. In addition, ongoing efforts to balance roles to enhance your choices about what to fly, depending on your chosen activities. Much like the popular changes made during to carriers during Equinox, this will further our ambition of making ships more distinct and increasing the diversity of ships performing specific roles in space. So a whole lot of not much is happening right now. Yeah. Corporation projects have empowered leaders to mobilize their members with purposeful tasks that enhance their collective goals. We're committing to this by expanding these capabilities, adding more conditions to create new and diverse objectives. For the rest of this year, we'll focus on creating goals that extend beyond your corporation. Our planned changes will facilitate recruiting new members and contracting work to external corporations, both with your alliance and beyond. This is something that is actually very, very asked for. And again, it's really good that this is in this dev blog, but in this world in which people are upset about what is right now, kind of trying to pretend like it was successful and then proceed to talk about what you're going to do next is struggle. Like I say, it's hard to swallow. See, it's bonsai. CCP is great. I could build tens of billions of items and get credit for 1 day of dailies because I did longer jobs. You know, I'll tell you this right now while we're here. My secret, you want to know my secret? I'll give you a hint. If I go to my industry tab, and go to my jobs, you'll see. So because of the last event, because of that, not the Doctor Who event, but the Capsuleer Day event, I have so many filament blueprints that still work and the components for them. I'm going to be using these in order to fulfill those tasks for the rest of time. Just so you guys know. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. All right. Speaking of interconnections, Eve Vanguard continues to ushering a bold new chapter in an ongoing saga with Eve Online, its first-person shooter experience set new to Eden. The weird thing about the shooter was like they came out and they made it seem like this was going to be tied in with what was going on in Othanoon, and then it didn't, and we didn't know whether or not it had to do with the nullsec. It was very weird. I talked about it before. We don't really have a follow-up with it because it didn't go anywhere. It's so weird that they dropped that opportunity. But the Eve universe is living and breathing, filled with inhabitants that make it rich, real, and meaningful experience. And we are building on an ecosystem. Hey, it's Mr. Chuck Norris. Vanguard takes place on far-flung planets filled with natural beauty, hostile denizens, and planetary colonization efforts enabled by the advancement in orbital skyhook technology from the Upwell Consortium. The Deathless Circle is advancing in development of Vanguard mercenary clones, and with your support, they're making significant strides. What support? What have we been doing to help the Vanguard? They said that we were going to be doing stuff. It's 6 months later. We haven't done shit. They're making significant strides. Whether you're stepping in New Eden for the first time or returning veteran, everyone starts on equal fittings in Eve Vanguard with no one having a head start. By deploying on planets, completing contracts, and eliminating your rivals, you'll gain influence and power. As your game grows, your domination grows, stretching to planets beyond space. I had a lot of fun with the Vanguard playtest. There were definitely some issues, but like it was really fun in my opinion. The Skyhook will play a crucial role at the bridge between Eve Online and Eve Vanguard, even though that like that was the thing that they talked about and just didn't go anywhere yet. Carrying around a container with a something BPO and a small amount of minerals to hit the dailies in every NPC station. There you go. I frequently run 3 to 4 day jobs in all slots. You'll have to miss out on those dailies if you have to keep a slot open. Yeah, it's weird, but that's one of the reasons why they changed it. So now there's 8 things, so that way the likelihood is that you'll be able to find tasks that you can do. We are now transitioning to a more focused training and development approach through the Founders Program, collaborating with the community to explore key themes and build towards a major update in November. So there's a plan. This is talking about that. In November, there's going to be a major update. Beyond that, there's going to be Steam Early Access. Cool. One of the goals is deep in the gameplay loop. Yeah. We talked about Vanguard. Shared Destiny. So this provides nothing to anybody. The future of EVE Online is incredibly exciting. The commitment to continuing the path we're on, enhancing your experience with more control over space, deeper customization options, and engaging gameplay across all facets of New Eden, from unifying ownership mechanics and expanding corporation projects to enhancing Skinner involving Vanguard. We are dedicated to making 2024 a year of unprecedented growth and innovation. Thank you for being part of an incredible journey. Together, we will continue to shape the universe, making it richer and more dynamic and more engaged than ever before. Fly safe, CCP Bertati and CCP Burger. So this was when we got renewed calls to fire CCP Bertati and CCP Burger, because basically, while everybody was upset about all these different details across the board with Equinox, this dev blog comes out basically like, hey guys, it's kind of great. And we've got exciting stuff, but it doesn't really like speak to anybody's fears. One of the big things that CCP Affinity did so effectively when she talked on stage to the faction warfare people, and in other cases, was accurately and clearly describing the problem, allowing the player base listening to her to feel like, well, at least they know what the hell is wrong and needs fixing. This dev blog in isolation doesn't convey that message. This dev blog basically says, we don't actually understand what people are upset about, or more importantly, we don't agree with some of the things, and so we're focused on our stuff, right? And that's what's caused a lot of angst within the community. However, I think this is kind of the end of the bad news segment of this video, because now we talk about kind of their path towards a redemption. Equinox update. So, by the way, oh, what 10 days can do, right? So 10 days ago, you could almost say that the director's letter was written with confidence, right? If I could give it a word to go along with it, it would be confidence. Let's talk about this one. We want to acknowledge the concerns expressed by the community and CCP regarding the Equinox expansion and associated game changes. Very different tone out the gate. We share your passion for EVE Online. We know that everyone has the best wishes of the game at heart. I feel like I don't even need to describe what has happened in the last month. All I need to do is read those 2 sentences, and you can kind of mentally fill in the blanks of what kind of shitstorm we've had on public centers and whatnot in this time. We haven't had like a Riot and Jito world thing, but there's definitely been a lot of angst. We hear you loud and clear and appreciate the honesty and feedback provided. We have been and continue to actively monitor and discuss this feedback with the CCP and with the CSM to refine, plan, and prioritize the next steps. The focus on Equinox was and remains making nullsec exciting and desirable, not just as a battleground, but as a dynamic home front ripe with opportunities that will enhance the value generated from sovereignty systems for corporations and alliances as well as individuals. Today sees an update to various aspects of Equinox. Below is a high-level overview of these changes with further details in the patch notes. This is just one of many steps forward as we continue to refine and adjust in the weeks ahead, with changes planned for Skyhook rating and improvements for Skinner for ships and air daily goals. So even without anything that I've been talking about for the last hour and a half or whatever, you can tell like this is a very different tone, and here is where we're going. Like we've rounded the corner. So let's see what kind of things they're talking about. Since Equinox launched, we've received valuable feedback as to the sovereignty system and have made several changes with the aim of making them more lucrative and exciting. While the ability... Hey, Bash! Welcome, Bash. Thank you so much for the gifted memberships. Bourbon, Raziel, Samu, Grouch Cat, and Mammy C. And, of course, for myself, thank you so much for your support. Bash, it's been good to see you. I've been seeing you playing... Oh, man, you've been playing something. You've been playing No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky has had a huge update recently, and I know that there's been a couple of people that have been super, super into it. I've been wanting to dig into it, too, but I've been so busy looking into things like Final Fantasy XIV and EVE and all that stuff. Is that something that my patrons would be, or my supporters would be interested in me doing? Is like a No Man's Sky update or something like that? That'd be kind of a cool thing to do. But it is very good to see you, Bash. Glad to see you've been doing good. Glad to see you're doing great. All right. Since Equinox launched, we've received blah, blah, blah. While the ability to select mineral types was an improvement, the sites themselves felt underwhelming, both in terms of the social experience of mining and of their overall value. A few steps have been taken to address this. First, the smallest asteroids have been removed, and the minimum asteroid size has been increased such that it can accommodate multiple strip miner cycles. Remember that the implication of this is the acknowledgement that the rocks that they put into null security space in order for the biggest, most powerful miners in the entire game to mine did not have enough ore for a single full cycle of a strip miner. So, you know, we like to joke around about how like, oh, well, people that just want to be able to AFK mine are bad. Yes, but really, though, like, this isn't fucking mining blitzes. I shouldn't be short cycling every single cycle of my mining lasers in order to maximize my efficiency in nullsec. That is nonsense. Anyway, all right. So additionally, the overall volume in the sites have been significantly increased with Hezermerl, which is Hydrine, and Mordinium Pyrite anomaly seeing the largest increase. This is actually one of the issues that I was suspecting was the case, which is also true. This is Aaron Arlena, by the way. I just decided not to have... Okay, no problem, man. 07. Nice. Yeah, okay. That makes sense, too. So, one of the things I was suspecting was that, like, everybody was, you know, like, oh, well, of course the Isogen site doesn't have very much in it. There's a compromise, right? Like, if you want the most valuable minerals in the game, it's not going to be that much of it. But if you chose, like, Veldspar, or maybe even better yet, something that is normally in nullsec, like Megasite, then maybe there'll be a lot of it. You know, Zydrine. Zydrine's a nullsec or a mineral. Maybe there should be a lot of that in those sites because, you know, you've chosen the site that should have a lot in it. Well, also wasn't really that true, but they did tweak it. For asteroid sites, we wanted to make sure that this was an improved experience compared to old colossal spawns. The Hezermine deposit will now include significantly larger asteroids, with single 600K M3 behemoth asteroid and several dozens with volume larger than 100K M3. The mining escalation has also become more significant object. Oh yeah, one of the just to show how far off the path CCP was when it comes to their original fixes for this. People were like, the rocks are too small. There's too much in there's too little in the sites. So what CCP did was they shrunk the M3 of the ore so you could mine more in a single cycle, but that's what made it so that the rocks didn't even survive a single cycle before it was finished. And so you could mine that ore faster because you're getting more units of ore because each unit of ore is a lower M3. But that also made it so that you didn't even finish a full cycle, which ironically enough also makes it so that waste isn't a thing. If the asteroid doesn't survive a full cycle, then that means that there's zero waste. So arguably it should be a better thing, but whatever, either way. The mining escalation has also become more significant objective to take on and complete. The total volume has increased significantly with the less valuable asteroids have been replaced with spodumene, various abyssal asteroids, and mercoxic. Yeah, people noticed that there was just giant rocks of Veldspar in the escalation, which of course didn't make people feel great. Greatly increasing both the mineral yield and value. This is a huge thing, right? The whole mining change, in my opinion, was based on how much people got excited about the mining escalations. And the answer was they didn't. So one of the biggest changes that they've done is trying to make those mining escalations something that's worth farming for, something that's worth going after. They also, mining anomalies are only part of the equation as combat anomalies are being reevaluated. The number of anomalies and threat detection array spawns have also been increased, allowing groups to maintain larger population for PvE, even while running hyper-optimized blitzing setups. To reward those pilots committing larger ships and more optimized setups, the spawn rate has been reduced by 40%. This still utilizes the new spawning paradigm, meaning that in all cases, the new sites will respawn significantly faster. We want to thank everyone who has taken the time to express their feedback and assure you that we are actively listening and taking into account as we work on upcoming changes to close collaboration with CSM. I also believe that they increased the respawn rate of the mining sites. Somebody can correct me if that's wrong, but that means that escalations will be more common as well. So here we see the thing that I find noteworthy in this video, in this blog, is that they are directly comparing it to the way it was, right? What? Ooh, Veldspar and Nullsec, please, CCP, call the mighty fleet. Exactly. So I believe that they made it so that they also they respawn more consistently, which makes it so that there's something to mine. It doesn't mention it here, but I think that it's in the patch notes at some point. A lot of things have been changed, but yeah. So that is the big changes to nullsec, and in this thing they keep comparing it to the old system, right? Oh yeah, okay, so this is more ore than the colossal spawns. This is still faster than the old system, and I think that that's critical because one of the previous things was that each one of these systems were almost objectively worse than the previous systems, except for under its most extreme situations. So it's going to be interesting, but let's look at the full patch notes. Which we should probably start at the bottom and go up real quick. That's the release of Equinox. One of the very first things they did was make it so that you could have multiple skins saved with a skill allowing you to do that. They also did a lot of tweaks as to the hauling ships, which, by the way, I haven't mentioned the hauling ships because they were great. Hey. Yeah. Thank you, man. Sorry. I'll let the, I think the... All right, so, where is it? Yeah, here it is. Adjusted the infested shielded starbase escalations force field and control tower signature radius from 1,000 to 32,000 meters so that capital weapons such as T2XL torps and close range heavy fighters will now be able to apply full damage. Yeah, so this was the capital escalation battle site for the combat escalations for the nullsec stuff. And literally the capitals could not even hit the tower effectively because the tower had a 1,000 meter signature radius. So it was basically sig tanking all of the ships that were designed to fight it. Pretty amazing. And then the shield hit points because of that had to be adjusted. This is when they delayed sovereignty. Changes oh yeah, this is when the Paragon market went live. And we also got the new home fronts, which by the way, the new home fronts are actually pretty cool. We've been having a good time with them. I do want to say positive things about that. Where is it? Oh God, this was so bad. So they made it so that we can tax LP now, and we can now pay people for LP tax. Here's the fucking crazy part about it, okay? So let's say I earn 1,000, and this is important for anybody who leads an organization or really anybody. So let's say that somebody earns 1,000 LP, and our LP tax rate is 20%, okay? Now I want to pay somebody, let's say 1,000 ISK per LP. I think we pay more than 1,000 ISK per LP in our group, but just for the math to be easy, I want to pay 1,000 ISK per LP for the 20% of the LP that I get. Okay, I set my tax rate to 20%, right? What do I set the LP reward at in order to give them the correct amount of ISK for the LP that I am taking? Now, the answer isn't 100%, right? Like, I don't say, okay, well, if I'm going to do 1,000 ISK per LP, I'm going to say, I'm going to sell 1,000 ISK. I'm going to pay 1,000 ISK per LP. That doesn't quite work because it's earn LP. So if they're earning all 1,000 LP, I'm going to be paying them 1,000 ISK per LP for all 1,000 LP. When really I want to only pay 1,000 LP or 1,000 ISK for the 200 LP I'm taking, right? So maybe I should times it by 0.2, right? If I pay 200 ISK per LP and they earn 1,000 LP, I take 20% of the LP and I pay 1,000 ISK per LP on that 20% I've taken. That makes sense, right? That is not how it works. It isn't how it worked. They fixed this now. So, okay. Actually, no, I don't know if they've actually fixed this part. Now that I think about it, somebody can correct me. I don't think that they fixed this yet. So this is just the way it works. So rather, the problem is that the person doesn't earn 1,000 ISK or 1,000 LP. They earn 1,000 LP minus what we take. So the player only earns 800 LP. And that's what we're paying on. So if we pay 20% of the 800, we're actually underpaying people, right? So we have to actually pay 800 ISK per LP for 1,000 LP at 20% to be worth 1,000 ISK per LP. Extremely counterintuitive. and messed up a whole bunch of groups' understanding of how, including ours. Like, it took us a couple cycles to figure out how much is to actually reward people for their LP, to not gyp them in the process. So that was weird. But the other weird part about it was, if the Air Daily goal required you to earn 1,000 LP, which it didn't, obviously, but again, we're doing this for the easy of numbers. If the Air Daily goal required you to earn 1,000 ISK per LP, and the corporation taxed you 20%, and so you only earned 800 LP, you would not complete the Air Daily goal. It wouldn't count that as earned LP. Only the 800 that you received would be counted as earned LP, so you'd have to then do more. That's what they fixed here. Now Air Daily Goals correctly accounts LP that is taxed. This actually makes a funny thing. So imagine, if you will, the most extreme example of this, okay? We have a faction warfare group that we buy 100% of your LP, and we pay ISK per LP, so that way everybody just gets ISK instead of LP. The practical upshot of that was that before this patch came out, that meant that no one within that organization would be able to complete the LP challenge because nobody was earning any LP. Whoops. So they fixed that. That's cool. Next, they changed some more stuff with the Air Daily Goals. Taxes are a higher priority than anything else. Well, the idea is that you earn the thing and then it's taxed, but they're taxing it before it counts as being earned by you, which is pretty wild. Okay, so here's the big one, okay? Woo! So 627. This is the real sovereignty transition day, okay? So this is the big first change when sovereignty was turned over. And this is when they adjust the power provided by sun so that the lowest power output starts at 500 terawatts instead of at 150 terawatts. The amount of power that the best sun has provided is 1,000 terawatts. Suns had the power values between 150 and 1,000 have had their amount provided increase to match the new scaling between 500 and 1,000. So they upped the power level of all suns to allow them to be able to use the different pieces without having issues. So, and then they also changed the cost of certain things, including power the advanced logistics network, which in Syllabix jump gates, super capital shipyards, Sino jammers. Now so what these do is it makes it so that you no longer you still can't have a really good mining upgrade and a Sino jammer in a system at the same time, except for maybe extraordinarily few systems. So that remains true. But we see that oh, here it is. Here's their first solution. Here's their first solution to the mining changes. We're going to fix the mining sites by making the volume less, so they're faster and easier to mine. That was their first solution. And they also added the large Macoxic cluster site as an escalation, which, of course, at this point, nobody had even seen the escalations yet. So, whatever. Remove the non-functional sort by name. Awesome. Next. Bugs. Tweaks. Skyhooks now have a 15-minute repair time instead of 5. Fixed an issue where it was not possible. It lists the skin license on sale Paragon Hub for a price higher than 2.1 billion. That's actually pretty funny. A lot of these are just bug fixes or little tweaks here and there. All right. Updated skinner license tier indicators for better clarity. Enhance the skin sequencing panel for design elements. Skin licensing from Paragon hubs are now linkable. Oh yeah, you couldn't even link a fucking skin on the Paragon. So even if so now at least you can open up the skinner and I can go into the hub, and I can find a skin that I like, and I can now link it. I can link it, and then assumingly somebody can click on the link to open up that entry. So now at least we can, so here we go. Here we go. It only took them until the 11th of the next month to make it so that you could actually give someone a link so that way they could buy your specific one. Even though they still have to pay the taxes and all that other stuff. At least now they can find it, right? Cool. Introduced a new skills to increase the number of allowed save designs and ship scanner. Added sequence time information to the design creation phase. Ship type is now displayed when viewing a design of the Paragon Hub and collection. Blah, blah, blah. Paragon Hub now displays 3 rows. Yeah. Okay, great. Fixed an issue that was causing respawn timers of certain combat anomalies to be too low. The common anomaly sites spawned with the new Sovereignty Hub upgrades have been intended to respawn faster than anomalies spawned by older upgrades when completed at average speeds, providing a better experience for the vast majority of players. In Equinox's respawn timers for these sites were adjusted to begin counting down when the previous site spawned instead of when the previous site was completed, causing the effective wait time for the next site to be variable depending on how quickly you completed the previous site. That means that instant respawns of sites were intended to happen in some cases, but not when chaining sites extremely quickly using multiple ships for optimal tactics. In today's patch, we have previously addressed an issue that has caused the intended cooldowns to not apply properly. The issue is that significantly affecting systems where the combat anomalies were being chain completed in a very short time period due to hyper-optimized tactics with multiple characters. Respawn times can still be instant in some situations, especially when the sites are being run at average speeds, but they are no longer be instant every time when the sites are being completed very quickly. Oh, so they actually, so they made it so that if you're running it really, really quickly, the bug was that they would respawn instantly, and they didn't want that. So now they actually slowed it down in that case. This is also really interesting, where it used to be that, like, okay, well, you'd finish the site, and within a certain amount of time after completing the site, the next site would spawn. So the faster you run it, the faster you could run it. This makes it so that it's like, okay, well, the next site will respawn in 5 minutes, regardless of how fast you finish it. Rip to everybody who's skill injected in Stormbringers to farm them real fast. Hey, man, Stormbringer's still a great in Abyss. All right. Adjusted the fitting warning message for the Bowhead and Avalanche. Blah, blah, blah. Removed metallic from being appended. Nobody cares. All right. Here's another big change. All right. Let's go to the beginning here. Here we go. 7.18. Is this... Yeah. So this is the patch notes corresponding with that Equinox dev blog that we saw that was much more sober. We're making several adjustments to the mining sites provided to the new Equinox sequence sovereignty upgrades based on player and CSM feedback for the last few weeks. We're increasing the quantity of ore available in the sites, especially for Zydrian Mega Site prospecting array, blah, blah, blah. We already read a lot of that stuff. So all prospecting arrays, several asteroids have been combined, so the majority of asteroids are in each location require multiple strip miner cycles to mine out. Isogen total ore volume increased from 2.6 million to 3 million. Megasite 1.9 million to 4 million. Mexilon 2.2 million to 3 million. Noxium 2 million to 3 million. Pyrite 4.5 to 6 million. So we can see that what I was talking about was true, right? Like a lot of the stuff that was, you know, tritanium, it has a ton of it. Whereas Isogen has much less, Megasite even less. Although I would expect that the nullsec ones would be more because it's nullsec, but whatever. You know, rebalance the ore content of the site, smaller overage percentage of Mordinium. Yeah, whatever. Mining escalation. Shrouded asteroid cluster has been overhauled and is now the interstitial ore deposit. I don't even know. The chance of acquiring the mining escalation has been greatly increased. Total ore volume has gone from 3.7 million to 8.4 million, and all asteroids have been replaced by spodumene, abyssal asteroids, and a small amount of mercoxic. So huge overhaul with how these things are fixed and work. I don't know if this changed the respawn rate, but obviously with a bunch more ore in them, they're mined for much longer, and the escalations are much more common. Combat upgrades. We're making a few tweaks to the combat upgrades provided by minor and major threat detection. Firstly, we're greatly decreasing the maximum possible respawn time for these sites. Spawn from 20 minutes to 12 minutes. So there you go. I wasn't right with 5. It was a 20-minute cycle, so you'd get 1 site per tick of your wallet. Now you're getting 1.5 with 12 minutes in between. For context, the old sovereignty upgrade respawns sites between 20 and 12 minutes based on the level of the upgrade that respawn them. For an average respawn time of 16 minutes, this now means that there is no single case where a site in the old system could respawn faster than the same site in the new system. This is the big key, right? Because this talks about, like, remember at the very, 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 very beginning of this stream when I was talking about citadels? This is a big critical thing, right? Because they do need people to like the changes, but they can't destroy what they have done. They can't destroy the economy that they have. They can't sacrifice certain things in order to make people like those things, right? If they just were like, okay, well, fuck it, you just get all the isogen now. They'll just undo all of the good graces that they've done through scarcity and all the changes that they've done, which was, again, a very painful process that they don't want to repeat. So what you're seeing here is them tweaking things that's like, okay, well, what can we give them that will make them happy with what things are, while not compromising the things that we're afraid of damaging, right? And a big piece of that messaging, we saw this with Orca changes, we saw this with faction warfare changes. Anytime that there's a bit of a miscommunication between players and CCP when it comes to the changes that are being made, one of the things that they really go back on is the fact that this is technically slightly better than it was before. And so you're going to see this argument being made. It's like, oh, well, actually now it can't be worse than it was before. And I think that, like, I think that was something that they were prepared to give up, as opposed to maybe some other things. So they gave as much as they could give with the mining and stuff, but they're trying to make it so it's like, well, what can we do to make this enticing without altering the balance of it all too much? So an additional combat anomaly has been added to most upgrades. Respawn timer went from 12 to 20. Sorry, from 20 to 12. Adjusted anomalies spawned by major threat detection in drone space to increase the amount of drone horde and drone patrol sites. So now we have all of these different details, and we can see, like, the different levels of the stuff, and we can also see that it's related to TrueSec, which is cool. But you know, all of these are 2 dens, 2 hidden dens, 2 forsaken dens. These are all much better than most of the sites that you would see in the old ones. Even where do you get havens? Hold on, where do you get havens? Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, wait, what? Non-drone regions. Is refuge... Wait. Am I missing something? I feel like... Okay, so these have havens. What are these? What is it? What is this versus this? Non-drone elite regions. What am I missing? Are you looking at the minor threat sets? Oh! Thank you, Sutonia. That's it. So this is the minor threat arrays. Right, got it, right. So they introduced minor threat arrays that allows you to spawn, like, high-sec sites, and then the major threat arrays that allows you to spawn null-sec sites. That's what we're seeing here. So the minor threat arrays, that's why these are all, I'm like, these are high-sec sites. And that's because they are. Also, I'm not showing the video, the thing. So, yeah, I got it now. So up here is the minor threat arrays, but in the major threat arrays, we see, like, God damn it, this is still, wait. No, it is written, it is down further, right? Where's Havens? Havens! Whew. Okay. Oh. I'm not crazy. I was trying to be like, wait, I thought that like at least 2 havens. So 2 havens and 2 and 4 hubs, that is more than a lot of nullsec systems were able to get back in the day. And that is like the lowest quality one that you can have. The highest quality one that you can have has 8 havens in it, which is and 4 sanctums, which is pretty good. Like, oh, actually, no, that's true. That's not correct, because it would be, I'd say about this point here was as great as it could possibly, or pretty fucking good in nullsec. 2 sanctums up in a system at the same time made that system kind of considered to be pretty decent under normal conditions. Now you can have up to 4 of them in a system, with, of course, 3 of the new super cool ones available. So that's pretty good. Yeah. Well, this one has 2, but yeah. Okay. Yeah, many systems cannot online the Major 3 upgrade. That's true. But even without that, Major 2, you have 2 havens at this point. If you got a negative 6.65, if your true sec is low enough, you get 2 havens with a minor threat or major threat detection array 1. Like this right here is as good as it would be. Maybe not as good, but pretty good with only a direct detection array 1. Either way. So this was a major change to the threat detection that they did, and the mining upgrades. Since then, they add... Okay, so here's another one. If you go into the Nest store now, every week, you'll get 15,000 skill points for free. Right here. It's once a week. So now you have your... So you have your daily tasks, but then you have your weekly login to come here and just say, yeah, I will take 1,500 skill points. Thank you very much, CCP. And done. Don't worry about all those Master Arm Cerebral Scutters. If you want to make sure that I have plenty more Master Arm Cerebral Scutters, make sure you use the link down below to get yourself 1 million free SP. Anyway. Okay. What comes up next? Fix a bug where players died or took damage from rogue NPCs. Blah, blah, blah. Multiple implant sets will now give Faction Warfare LP. Added a new skill, Paragon Relations, for reducing the Paragon Hub vendor fees when selling skins by 1% per level. Congratulations, guys. You can now reduce the fee down to 25%. Wow. Refactored the colony resource page, blah, blah, blah. Reduce vendor fee. Oh, yeah, never mind. They cut it down from 30. So here we go. That's right. So here is the change from the 25th, which is 3 days ago. This is the latest set of changes that they've done. So, marketplace taxes reduced from 4.5 down from 8, which makes selling of all things on the market to be cheaper. The number of daily goals have been increased from 4 to 8. The daily completion bonus has been doubled from 5,000 to 10,000. And the 4 most annoying daily goals have been removed: combat scanner, data sites, relic sites, wormholes. The vendor fee was reduced from 30% to 20%, and they've reduced the time, and they introduced new skills to reduce the costs even further, right? In fact, if we go into the sequencing world, we now have this one, which increases the maximum number of listings by 5. Or you've got maximum listings. You've got time reduction. You've got number of additional skins that you can save. You can number of things being sequenced at one time. Where is it? Hub promotion? No. Paragon Relations? Yeah. Reduces Paragon Hub vendor fees percentage by 1% per level. So they've added a bunch of skills to improve the skinning system. Now, of course, we're not going to forgive them. We're not going to relent until, of course, you can preview things in the Skinner system that you don't currently own in the Skinner system, because that's just, in my opinion, common sense. But, you know, we're getting good improvements. That's a technical limitation. We're going to have to just keep on them about it. So it's half the cost with the old skillet, the skillet 5. That's good. It's too bad, though. It tickled me that systems had to change hands for forced to use the new mechanics when everyone hated them. Yeah, nobody wants to take any new systems, because if you take a new system, you'd have to deal with the new sovereignty mechanics. That would have been terrible. So yeah, I mean, what we can see here is kind of a lot of concessions, right? So almost all of the things that people have bitched about, the failure of the login reward, like the removal of the login reward systems, the pain points of Skinner, the pain points of the sovereignty system, CCP has gone and addressed each one of those, right? The Skinner system now has more things that you can do. There's they've reduced the fees, and they've made it a little bit more user-friendly with promises of doing more. The sovereignty system has been significantly buffed in order to be not just competitive, but like objectively better than the old system. The login rewards has been buffed up a little bit to make it so that it's less of a pain in the ass and more rewarding, to make up for the loss of the login rewards that we had before, along with that promise that they might come back with Halcyon Dawn skins in some other way, hopefully not just by listening to or watching Twitch streams. But, you know, so we can see that they are addressing the pain points very specifically, and they are really budging in some things, but they're not budging at all in others, right? And so on the one hand, I feel like they're like, if I wanted to be completely optimistic about this, I can say that, like, well, CCP had a very, very ambitious expansion. They put it out there. It was going, like, nullsec has always been the hardest thing for them to fix. So, like, no, it was never going to be wildly popular. There's just, because of the competitive nature of nullsec, it's impossible to not have a group of people that hate the changes, because whatever change is good for one group is a problem for another group, right? That's just the nature of the competitive way of that nullsec works. So, you know, there isn't going to be like a universally accepted sovereignty change, but how do they need to make it at least popular. They need to make it so that they're not driving null. They're not, like, CCP was like, woo, we're introducing a new nullsec. We want everybody to be excited about it. And everybody's response to it was Scarcity 2.0, which was like the thing that CCP almost certainly did not want to hear, right? That is not the impression that they wanted to give, was that the player base was like, oh, this is just Scarcity 2.0. This was supposed to be the end of Scarcity, right? So then they concede changes slowly and incrementally, which shows that they're listening. But I don't know if I'm cynical. I don't know if this is tinfoil, but there's a part of me that says that, like, whether, I don't think all of it was intentional, but I think some of it was acceptable, right? You know, like, it is true that the Skinner system was released in the worst state it will ever be. Period. The sovereignty system rolled out in what is ostensibly only part of what they actually want to do, because there's more rollouts coming. Hey, Sheesh, thank you for the 5 gifted subs, going to Satonia, Bruno, Damon Morgan, Rizonx, and Vash, and of course for myself. Thank you so much, Sheesh, for making this all happen, and welcome. Good to see you. So there's a concept where you offer a really bad offer, right, as your initial offer, such that then when you come in and fix it, it feels so much better than it was, right? So, in other words, they knew that, let's look at the login rewards. Removing login rewards was never going to be popular. And selling the activity rewards as being some sort of sufficient replacement of it was questionable, especially when they had to, like, there's this weird argument about how, well, if you do all your activities on all 3 of your characters on your account every month, you end up with more skill points. And that just failed as an argument completely, in my opinion, right? Especially like a newer player asking, like, oh my God, can you imagine? Like, I was just thinking about this the other day. I'm a newer player. I'm just starting the game. I'm just trying to get in my skill points. I'm trying to figure out how to maximize my skill points. And now you're telling me that I have to share my skill cube between 3 different characters. Remember, free to play, right? Because we're trying to, like, there's a new player that's free to play, how they're supposed to get their stuff. Now you're expected to have 3 different accounts for you to do these basic tasks in order to be able to get the skill points, so you to funnel them all into the one character you really want it for. That was never tenable. Okay, I'll just say that was never tenable. So the fact that, like, now they're saying, okay, well, this is the same amount of skill points or more that you would have gotten before you're doing your daily skill. As long as you're doing your daily completion, you're getting that 10,000 skill points, which is great. And the rest of the rewards are kind of just gravy. So what happens is that now that it's been like a month, we've gotten kind of past the whole like no login rewards. So now people look at the opportunities and go, oh, well, this is actually kind of good, right? Like, I can find multiple things to do. I could do, here's the cool thing. You can actually do all 8 of these tasks and get, 4 million ISK and 4,000 Paragon points on top of everything else if you want. So this is a better situation, which leads people to kind of forgive how bad of a change it was in the first place. Same way with sovereignty, right? So, the sovereignty hub is the sovereignty changes is adding a whole bunch of new considerations. You can't just use any system for whatever you want anymore. People have to, like, pay attention to where things are. There's more fucking busy work that needs to be done. Blah, 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 right? Well, okay, what do? Well, once people get used to it and they start complaining about it all, then you buff it all. And now people think it's awesome. If CCP had just rolled out Equinox with the condition that it is in right now, I don't think people would have liked it. They would have bitched the exact same ways, because the problems, at least a lot of the problems, a lot of the essence of what is the change is the same. But because of the fact that we have been primed with the initial change, this change feels better. We're able to adapt to this change in a much more kind of like, it helps soften a little bit of that reactionary attitude, because now CCP have made it better. So here's the thing, okay? And I said this with the Skinner system, and I think this is really, really, really important with all of this. And this goes back to the Citadel thing, okay? The God honest truth is, this right here has been where CCP has made a ton of their money. Ever since that they went free to play, they have shown on economics over and over. Yeah, it's the inverse of the anchor price phenomenon. Exactly. You set something. Well, actually, it is basically the anchor price phenomenon, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, this thing's $50, but this one's $30. Well, now that one, the $30 looks cheap compared to the $50 one. That looks like a good fucking deal, even though it's still really expensive. Why not just have the 50 daily SPP earn 50 daily tractor point? I agree with that too. But the God honest truth is that selling these skins has been a major economic source for CCP. So, just think about it this way. When we're telling people, it's like, okay, well, we want to give players the ability to make their own skins. Wait, but like, our company works on the fact that people buy skins from us. If they make their own skins, won't they, won't they buy less of our skins? Wouldn't that make it so that we get less money? And so, like, the fear of this is, because, you know, this isn't an agreed thing. This is a company, like, being able to be solvent thing, right? If we destroy the economics of the actual EVE CCP or EVE Online game, if CCP becomes no longer economically tenable as a company, we all lose, right? So the worst case scenario would be that CCP come out with a Skinner system so powerful and so good and so efficient that nobody buys CCP skins anymore. CCP stops making money from that, and the game collapses. We're all super happy because we can all do whatever fucking creativity we want until the game dies. There's this really great story that I like to tell when it comes to these kinds of things. It was a lesson that I learned when I was young, which is I was big into Magic the Gathering when I was in high school. I'd go to my local card shop, because we had those back then. And I would go there every day and I'd play Magic the Gathering there. And it was like my place to go after school, like every day, right? Now, they had Magic the Gathering there. We got into Doomtown card games, which is a game that probably nobody's ever heard of. They bought it for us because of the fact that we wanted it. You know, when we got into Warhammer, he started buying Warhammer stuff. They would just, like, he would start stocking any kind of game that we got into. But this was the late 1999-2000 time period, which means it was Beanie Baby time. And so at this shop with all of these card games and all of these collectibles and stuff, there was a bunch of Beanie Babies. And so the other kind of customer that will come in are either middle-aged moms or little kids looking to expand their Beanie Baby collection with, like, super rare Beanie Babies. This annoyed all of us hoity-toity gamers. This is a place for Warhammer, not for Beanie Babies. So we convinced him to stop selling the Beanie Babies and double down on things like Warhammer and card games. And he did that. And 6 months later, the store closed. The God honest truth is that we live in an economy. And some things have to happen. We have to put up with certain things within our communities, within our games, within our spaces. We have to deal with a certain amount of them catering to the kind of people or the kind of things that we do not like in order for the things that we do like to be tenable. That's just the way it works. Okay? So regardless of what you think about skins, regardless of what you think about the Skinner system, it is still absolutely paramount that CCP still have a financially viable game when these changes roll out. So in that context, and given the fact that they can just continue to update this is the other thing. One of the things that the game industry has learned in the free-to-play world is that it doesn't matter if you lose players, because the barrier for them to come back is so thin. It's free to play. They can always just check it back out. You can always gain back players later. So if you have a moment, if you have a time which isn't that popular, you can ride that out because you can always get them back later. This was an idea that kind of percolated through the gaming industry in like 2017, 2018, and kind of beyond, and has sort of like, it's why scarcity was able to be done, right? They knew that every change during scarcity was wildly unpopular. But they did it because they knew that if in the end, what was done was better, then the people would come back and that the world would survive, right? So if if Skinner came out and everybody panned it as the worst fucking thing ever, nobody used it. It was completely seen as the biggest cash grab. And the only thing Kotaku talked about was how bad it was. That is still a better result than the opposite. A Skinner system that's so permissive and so good that it ruins the economy of EVE Online. So, yeah, they're going to put it so that it costs the most that we could possibly tolerate, that it has the most considerations and fiddly bits and doodads and whatever, because by God, if nothing else, they want to make sure that they don't ruin the cash cow, the money the money egg that they have. They just need to convert it. Right. They can't. So they can make a lot more money. Right. They could make a lot more money if the Skinner system is successful. The risk versus reward here is through the roof. Right. Because the problem is that right now, if I have a ship and if I want a skin for it, I'm going to look up the skins. And if there's like 5 or 6 skins for them, if none of them are interesting to me, then I'm just not going to buy a skin. Right. But if everybody's coming out with skins, then the chances are that there is a skin that I'm be willing to buy is much higher, which means if the skins should be bought more and more and more. Right. So in theory, if this is successful, this should be a win to CCP. But the risk of it being a loss was too great. Too great. It is better for Equinox to roll out and be unsuccessful than to destroy the economy, to ruin the price of Isogen, to ruin the prices of skins. You know, they had a lot of stuff in the balance. There's a lot of value in the game, but they were already asking people to deal with seismic shifts on how those markets work. And if it went the wrong way, it could do untold devastation to EVE Online's economy for the next decade to come. Or they could just have an expansion that isn't very popular for a couple of months. It seems obvious to me why. I'm not saying this is like a conspiracy thing. I'm not saying that they intentionally gaslit us or anything like that. I'm not saying that they intentionally came out with systems that were bad in order to make them better. What I'm saying is that they came out with the system with the most conservative mechanics that they could possibly release, knowing that it's always best to buff rather than nerf, right? They would rather err on the side of we need to tweak the numbers upwards than downwards for obvious reasons. And so in that sense, I think that this has become very, very successful. Yeah, end of the day, the company's got to make money. So I actually think that the moral of the story of this long stream, yeah, well, you know, capitalism, yay. So the moral of the story of this long stream is that Equinox has been a rough rollout. And, you know, me not streaming in order to talk about it probably hasn't helped much. But honestly, it's been tricky to have something to talk about because everything's been so in flux and it's so focused on nullsec stuff. I didn't really feel like it was my place to say anything about that because, you know, if nullsec's complaining about the rocks, who am I to say that they're fine, right? I'm not there. And obviously they ended up being right. So, but now that we've come this far, I think it's safe to say that CCP have been incredibly cautious with these rollouts, but the adjustments they have done, I feel, are at least in the correct direction of making this into a viable expansion, a successful expansion, and an expansion to build off of, as long as they keep this up. I think that this narrative that they are improving it, there's some pretty significant changes that we've gone over that they've done in the last 2 months with their systems. Definitely some concessions that they've given in. And a lot of these systems are a lot more entertaining. If you just jump in right now, the expansion that ruined Null. Well, I mean, like, arguably it's gotten a lot better. I'm just saying, like, if you don't think it's perfect yet, keep talking about it. There's more coming to Null. But, you know, at least now those who want to engage with it at least are able to engage with it and not feel like they're being punished for engaging with it. Yeah, the new ships are great. The new frontline or home fronts are pretty cool. There are some very good things with this expansion. And I think that the changes that they're making are showing that they've learned the lessons of Upwell, that they have a earned caution when it comes to doing too much to make us like something, and instead rolled out something that was very meh, and then are laser identifying the actual complaints that people are making and addressing those, rather than trying to predict what we will hate ahead of time and putting carrots in front of everything in order to make sure that everybody has nothing to complain about. Instead, they rolled it out in a way that people have something to complain about, and then they addressed the complaints specifically. Is this a good idea? Why or why not? I don't know yet. Please let me know in the comments down below. Do you think that Equinox is going on the right direction? Do you think that Equinox has been a successful expansion? Do you think that Equinox, the CCP knows what the hell they're doing? You know, obviously Uprising was incredibly successful. Insurgencies was very successful. There were some issues with that, but it was a whole new system. This nullsec one is their biggest rollout, really, of a revamped system since, well, ever since their new paradigm, much larger than faction warfare. What do you guys think? Where do you think it's going? And of course, you know, it won't be too long from now till we start hearing about what's happening in November, and whatnot. One of the things I find really interesting is how quiet it has been, right? We don't have any movements in Zarzak. We don't have any, there hasn't been any like direct moves from the death list. There hasn't been any events recently, which I think has also kind of left us in this listless state. But hey, maybe it's just the summer lulls. Who knows? Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for checking out the video and coming and hanging out with me. See what we got. Just looks like the community, we need to shout and rip and tear everything just to not get drip fed the resources. We're already paying a monthly cost to access. It's exhausting. I mean, yeah, well, you're paying access to the universe, right? It doesn't just give you you're not paying for the minerals. You still have to work. You have to still, you know, have the sovereignty and do the stuff and have the utility materials. It's access to the game, this shared sci-fi universe that we get to participate in. Yeah. Soon, next update, they'll make planets orbit their star. Do you know how impossible that is? Everybody's bookmarks would be fucked. You'll get more group content for the space that you take and defend as a group. That's a good point. Like, I like the home fronts, but I really wish that we would have gotten more like home front-esque group activities for nullsec. But I think that the CCP is having a problem with that because like players don't want like arbitrary, like home fronts are a story, right? There's a thing happening there. There are agents that are like pushing for something. Sovereignty it's your space. Why would somebody else be doing something that you are trying to operate with? Bookmarks could not orbit it well. I mean, like that now you've gotten a huge thing because then planets would orbit against each other. So then what about bookmarks that aren't tied to the planet but are like in between planet? I don't think we're going to get planetary orbits. For me, the most concerning is that CCP made instant respawning combat sites on purpose while CSM said it was broken. Then after they realized they messed it up, it classified as a bug, not a mistake. Well, no, I think that was a bug. I think their explanation is accurate because they were like, the CSM came to them and was like, sites are respawning instantly. And they're like, no. See, sometimes it can respawn instantly. If it just happens to be that way, it'll feel like it respawns instantly. But like there is a timer back there and they're like, no, it's respawning instantly. And the CCP looks and goes, oh shit, it is respawning instantly. Because that's what a bug is, right? A bug is just a failed assumption. I guarantee you that at that time, CCP legitimately thought that it did respawn correctly. And then when CSM reported it was broken, only then did they look into it and determine that, oh wait, the respawner isn't working right. That's how bugs work. The updates to the updates is nice on a micro scale, but on a macro scale, it's still not clear what null blocks as a whole will get more from the space than before with the upgrades restrictions. Yeah, I mean, like, well, in systems that you can do things with, you're going to be able to get more out of. But like, given the fact that not all systems are valuable anymore, is a big consideration for sure. From what I understood, the CSM told CCP before the changes went live, but I could be wrong. Yes, but that's my point, Head Troll Hunter, is that like as a developer, right? I know that a site can respawn instantly under the correct conditions. So when a CSM member comes to me and complains to me that it was, didn't they have it on the test server, Malik? I think they could have. Either way, my point is, I don't even know if this is literally true, but like, even if it was, here's the thing. I know that the site has a spawn timer of 20 minutes, which means if it's slow enough, it'll feel like it's instant. So then the CSM comes to me and says that the sites are respawning too quickly. They're spawning instantly. It is very easy for me to write that off as being, well, they've misunderstood the situation. Because yes, there are absolutely times that you could observe that it was respawning instantly. It's only when they go back and double check the logs when they realize that this is actually not working correctly, right? Like if a person just comes to me and be like, oh yeah, it doesn't work, it's this way, and I know that that way is something that theoretically could happen, as a developer, I'm going to just assume that they hit the edge case until I get another report or something like that. You get what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. Like, even if CSM reported that, CCP could easily be like, I don't know if they know what they're talking about yet. You get what I'm saying? That's just the way development works. Like, players don't know what the fuck they're talking about. It doesn't matter if they're CSM or not. All right. Well, either way, I think I'm going to continue to be playing Evil Online. I have been having a lot of fun with Dawn Trail in Final Fantasy XIV. I want to make a video about Dawn Trail and put it on my uh, um, my second channel, my Decanted channel. But I definitely wanted to use, this was one of my few opportunities that I've had with my son out of the house. So I wanted to go live with you guys and talk about all this stuff as a higher priority because wow, has this expansion been a roller coaster of news. And I know, like, I put out that I put out the New Eden News video, and somebody was like, "Yeah, I really appreciate this stuff, but I really need to know what's happening in Eve Online, like the actual game." And I felt bad about that. I was like, "Yeah, people come to me to know what's happening in Eve Online, and here the expansion comes out, and I go completely radio silent." So I do want to apologize for that, guys. Summer, but you know, my birthday's coming up later this month. I'm going to try to find more opportunities to stream. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Get on to the Discord and give yourself a YouTube tag so that way you can see when I go live, or just come and chat with us, hang out whenever you want. But yeah. Wow. It is clearly to count in second count. Well, so what I think was happening was, see, here's the bug, okay? Here's what I think happened, just from my guess. They're talking about when it happens very, very quickly. So I think that, like, if you finish a site, so when the site spawns, it starts the timer for the next site, right? If you finish that site, and then the next site spawns, and you finish that site too fast, it could very well be that it failed to set the next, like, if the second site spawns while the first site is already done and has been done for more than a period of time, it makes it so that, like, let's say it's 12 minutes, right? So if you complete the first site in 8 minutes, you still have 12 more minutes until the next site spawns, which is the timer between sites, or potentially the timer between sites. So then when that spawns, it spawns with no timer. So then when that one finishes, it instantly respawns. And then from that point on, it's basically broken and has no timer. That's what I think was happening, which is why it was kind of an edge case and why it took a little bit of time for CCP to figure it out. But that's just me completely speculating. Uh, Oh, sorry. Next month. Next month is my birthday. This month was my son's birthday. All right. What kind of shenanigans are we getting into next? Well, I mean, we have the Alliance tournament coming out. We have Crimson Harvest. We have all that kind of stuff that we know about. Um, as far as the winter expansion, I don't think we have very much words about it. I haven't seen anything involving Vanguard. Everything's really, really, really fucking quiet right now. We're talking mostly about what has been as opposed to what's coming. And I don't know if I have any real good clues for what else is happening or what might be coming. For context, the Stormbringer groups for clearing havens in under 3 minutes. Typical respawns are around 15 minutes, which appears like instant respawn for an Ishtar clearing sites. Ah, see. Yeah, see. Yeah, winter expansion is going to be null focused again. But so my thing is like, look at the difference between Uprising and Havoc, right? Uprising put in a whole bunch of basic, like it revamped the system that existed in order to reinvigorate it. In this case, faction warfare. And then the second expansion put a twist on it, using those mechanics that they added in a bunch of hooks with things like advantage and stuff like that, things that corruption could play into. So they then add in this secondary mechanic that kind of interacts with the mechanics that they introduced in like a new and dynamic way that is not just more of the same, right? But it's actually an additional layer on top of the previous layer. So in the same way, I see them building a bunch of Viridian also added Shipcaster, Shadow War, and Direct Enlistment, etc., although much more minor. I forgot completely about Viridian. No, Viridian was a really good, and I don't mean that as like a bad thing. Viridian was a very, like, Viridian was a maintenance expansion. It came out with a bunch of really, really useful utilities, but it wasn't the big boisterous things of like Upwell or Havoc or anything like that. So yeah, but winter expansions though, I don't know, because normally winter expansions are the more extensive ones, with summer expansions being more like Viridian. So I still think that we are likely going to see more systems come to nullsec, that these relatively thin systems of personnel, power, and reagents are going to be turn on their head a little bit with new systems added in. In particular, like, so if we know that Vanguard is coming into early access in shortly after November, then we could presume that whatever Havoc or whatever the nullsec expansion brings could very well be an introduction to how Vanguard interacts with nullsec, or how corruption and suppression interacts with nullsec. We see that Vanguard has worked to now, Vanguard was originally tied specifically to corruption and suppression and the fobs and all that sort of stuff. But now, in the last 2 times that they've talked about Vanguard, they've really tied the Vanguards to shipcasters, which make absolutely no sense for Vanguard as it is now, because shipcasters only exist in nullsec. So I think that what we're going to see is more integration with corruption and suppression and potentially Vanguard and additional systems like that, and how they interact with null security space, making the maintenance, offering new challenges and opportunities to nullsec systems that become impacted by these new systems. That's my broad way of saying nothing. I'm really curious as to what they've added. I meant Skyhook. Yes, sorry. The first one was shipcasters, but now they've made it connect more to skyhooks, which doesn't make any sense because skyhooks are only in nullsec. That's what I meant to say. Ignore the shipcaster. The shipcaster was the first thing. So, I thought that the last Vanguard playtest was really fun. The different weapon upgrades and stuff like that. I will say that my enjoyment was more on the world tasks than the missions that we were given. Like going around and doing the tasks that you get to select a task and go and do it, which was the primary thing of the previous ones, really, really took a back seat to me when it came to just like the in the world events, like the mining site and stuff like that. So you don't enjoy extraction shooters? I can't really speak to it because like I haven't played very many other extraction shooters, but it really feels like they're evolving it away from an extraction shooter too. Did they put grenades into Vanguard already? Hell no. We can't have nice things. Yeah, it is incredibly new still. Yeah, I would say that they started with the foundations of an extraction shooter in the same way that like EVE Online started out with the concepts of an MMO. But like they're definitely like spiraling out from there. But it's not there yet. It's definitely not like you can play Vanguard and as something besides like a clone foot. Like I'm gonna go shoot people. Like I'm not gonna. There's no like engineers or anything. There are separate jobs to do or tasks that you can do in the world, but it's not like you're like a non-combatant in the same way, or like a miner or an industrial or something like that yet. If it brings people to the game, awesome. Rising Tide and all that. I like to think of it actually less as like, I don't think of it as like a new game. I think of it closer to like Elite Dangerous when they introduced the ability to get outside of their ship. Now, obviously, it's in 2 different games now, but really the Vanguard thing, as they've said, is the first-person component of EVE Online. It is all EVE Online. It's not that there is a new game. There's an expansion of the current game. And I think that helps. And maybe this is why I've been able to enjoy the shooter a lot, because like when I go into it, I don't think of it as like a half-built game. I think of it as a very interesting expansion to EVE that's far more complicated than PI or any of the other kind of weird expansion gameplays that they introduce. Like Vanguard is a whole different experience. So like having that be a new way to interact with the EVE universe does it for me. But thinking of it as a game in and of itself, I definitely would not recommend doing that yet. All right. Oof. It's been a good day, guys. So I don't know when I'm going to be going live again. Like I said, just keep track of my YouTube and the Twitch or Twitch, the YouTube and the Discord. I'm on Discord all the time. You can pop in, say hi, ask questions, whatever. We are recruiting in game. We have been doing more stuff in space, and I am, of course, looking for more people to do stuff in space with me. So go ahead and hit me up if you're interested. Make sure to check out, if you want to support the channel, you can always pick up some cool merch. There should be links down below, I hope. And you can become a member or a patron. I do want to thank all of the people that have made this possible, especially during the summer where I don't get to make as much content, but I still have plenty of people that support me. That way I can feed myself and my son. It's very awesome. So yeah, I've been Ashrathi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put EVE into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. Thank you guys so much for coming today. I didn't even announce it. Like I barely gave anybody warning. We still had plenty of people show up. You guys are awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I certainly did. Punch, thank you for the 10-month membership. Become a member. Make awesome happen. You get the cool emotes and warm my heart. All right. And he's a producer. Fucking thank you, Punch. All right. So, I've been Ashrathi, the voice of New Eden. And until next time, see you in space. Or Aosia. Or, I guess, No Man's Sky is space too, right? Yeah. All right. See you there. Like the stream for the guineas!
Bring on the wrecking machine. city.